Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So it's been quite a long time since I made such a video, but I feel that I had to make this video, and it's been crazy for me. My fourth baby is basically here in a month. We're doing lots of preparing, and I have a lot at work. My stocks are going crazy. My wife is going crazy, so everything is going crazy. So it's been very crazy. But I wanted to do a video about my updated Rocket Lab valuation because I don't know if you have. I wanted to make this a serious video, but just today when I was many days planning this video and making my new model, wanted to make it very serious, but I can't, guys. It's insane. Rocket Lab just went up. I don't know, what is it, 12% today. My portfolio, this position, Rocket Lab, has reached over 400,000 in gains. The position itself is a $700,000 position. It's pretty insane. So I just can't keep it serious. I'm sorry for this. But the reason why I wanted to make this video, because a lot of people are asking, should we sell? And a lot of new people are asking, is it too late to buy Rocket Lab? And this video is, despite the very funny looks, is going to be a very good one. I promise you. Let me just change up the glass. Here we go. I really love these glasses, by the way. Rocket Lab to the moon. So I wanted to do a video because I noticed a problem with Rocket Lab valuation. By the way, if you get value out of this video, please make sure that you are subscribed. And if you want to support the channel, like the 20 plus channel members that we have, the links are in the description box below. I would really appreciate that. So I noticed something that is wrong with Rocket Lab valuation. Just so you understand, this video is going to be kind of freestylish and kind of very nerdy with the numbers, but I promise if you're thinking about investing in Rocket Lab, or you are invested in Rocket Lab and you want to know if this valuation is outrageous, it's going to be a very good video for you. I promise this. So you just need to set some premises and extra information, and then we go into the boring numbers. I promise you that. So number one, what are the stocks that I look for when I invest into something? So I love to invest in stocks that have multi-year growth opportunity, and that is decades. So I don't want to own a stock that is like PayPal, for example, where it's very undervalued currently, but I don't know if in 2 or 3 years I have to worry about some other company taking over their business, and so on and so on. Rocket Lab is in a insanely big market, the space market. There is a completely new trend in the commercial space industry, and also a completely new trend in the government. I know that 10 years from now, they're still going to have a lot of demand, and the company is going to be growing revenues. And I'm pretty sure even 20 years from now, they're going to be growing revenues. So that's check number one for my investment style. Check number two is I really like when companies are misunderstood by Wall Street for whatever reason. So one earlier investment that I had is Palantir. I was buying at $12 at first, and then $10, and then $8, and then at $6 I was buying. The stock is currently at $43. And it was the same. I saw that they are into AI. If we look into the future, there's not going to be less AI. There's just going to be more and more AI. And for whatever reason, I saw that Wall Street does not understand this company, and that made me very bullish on that company. And I don't invest into a lot of companies, and when I say I don't invest into a lot of companies, I actually mean it. I only have two. I have Rocket Lab and I have Palantir, and that's it. And both of them have been home runs. So I'm very afraid, because technically it's statistically impossible that any stock that I buy is a home run. So based on the math, the next stock I'm going to buy is going to be a fucking disaster. So just don't buy any stock because I'm buying it. So back to Rocket Lab. I also noticed something that made Rocket Lab completely misunderstood. And that is that, you know, Rocket Lab does rocket launches. They have space systems, and in every freaking conference call, or, you know, whenever they get to speak with investors, they talk about space systems, space infrastructure that they're planning to build. So what does that mean? That means basically a constellation of satellites that provide some sort of a service. They're very good on keeping the cards close to their chest, so we don't know what they are looking at. And for the longest time, I have not been given any value to the Rocket Lab valuation to this segment. I was like, okay, I want to make sure that Rocket Lab, the rocket launches and the space systems is, you know, I'm getting it under fair value. And basically the space infrastructure is just a bonus. But something really big has happened, and that is a company called ASTS. This company was priced for bankruptcy at the beginning of this year. It was, you cannot see the chart here, but it was something like, I think $2, and now it's like $24. And it completely flipped from being a bankruptcy candidate to this new space age success story. And the thing is that this is a company that is a satellite constellation company, so space infrastructure company. They want to provide, what do you call it, a direct to cell communication possibility from satellites. But this company has zero revenue, and all they have is plans for a future constellation. And I must give it to them that they are doing very good on partnering with, you know, Verizon, T-Mobile. So it does look like as long as they can get their satellites up in space, they are going to do very well. But the point is that they are valued at 8 billion in market cap, 7.89, let's call it 8. With no revenue. Currently, this company is pre-revenue. And so if you have such a company, right, that is a gleaming success story, that is a space infrastructure company, that is worth 8 billion with zero revenues. And remember that this company is at a disadvantage because they can't launch their own satellites, and probably they contract out the manufacturing of their satellites. So if Rocket Lab were to compete with them in the same space, Rocket Lab would have a huge cost advantage. They would not have their partnerships, but Rocket Lab would have an inherent cost advantage. So the question I started asking, like, how fair is it, or how prudent is it in evaluation to give zero credit to Rocket Lab for space infrastructure, whereas this company is worth 8 billion on exactly what Rocket Lab is trying to do? And I came to the conclusion that that is not prudent as an investor to completely discount the space infrastructure. So I wanted to do a model for Rocket Lab, because keep in mind, Rocket Lab's valuation is, even with this increase, is only 5.5 billion. So the space infrastructure, if they would get the same valuation as ASTS, it would make it 13 billion, more than doubling from here. But I know, don't be keyboard warriors. I know you're going to hate me on the comments that it's not apples to apples, and, you know, you can't give the same valuation as ASTS. And I am in agreement with you. I don't think Rocket Lab should get $8 billion of extra valuation, but I also don't think it should get zero. I think the truth is somewhere in between those two numbers. And I wanted to do a valuation model, which is very hard to do because Rocket Lab doesn't give us a lot of data. They are holding the cards very close to their chest. So I tell you the data that they have given, what I know about satellite constellations, and how I incorporated this into my model. And my purpose here, you have to take this with a grain of salt. So this video is about a lot of nuances. Because Rocket Lab is keeping the cards so close to their chest, it's insanely hard to predict what they're going to do, what revenues they're going to have, what profit margins they're going to have. And this is why Wall Street basically just discredits it 100%. And I think that this gives us an edge. So I wanted to find a way where I can, you know, sort of get a picture of how much space infrastructure would change the valuation of Rocket Lab and how much we could sort of safely count into the valuation today. And my purpose with this is, when we come to the end, is I'm not telling you that Rocket Lab is worth this much. What I'm telling you is, if you use my assumptions, then this is the number that you get as a fair value for Rocket Lab. And spoiler alert, it's a lot more than what it is today. But you know, you can join the channel membership, where I don't care, you can even copy it from the screen. You can use your own assumptions, what you feel safe with, and then you will get your own numbers. And I'm actually very curious, if you have a different opinion, please let me know in the comment section. What is your viewpoint about the fair value of Rocket Lab, and what are the assumptions that led you to that? So don't just say, because sometimes I get a lot of criticism by people that I'm not bullish enough on Rocket Lab and my price targets are too low. And yeah, sometimes I think it has happened that people thought that I'm too optimistic, but mostly it's like my price targets are too low. And there's also method to the madness there, because I feel that it gives me a lot of safety when I calculate with pessimistic assumptions. And the stock is still a screaming deal. It gives me a lot of safety, as opposed to like making the best of the best assumptions, and then the stock is like matching that price. It doesn't give me any, I don't have any margin of safety. Like here, even if I'm quite wrong, I will still make a lot of money as a Rocket Lab investor. So that was a very, very long intro to this model. So let's get going. Before we get into the space infrastructure model, I wanted to show you, and I take this away. Let me make this bigger, maybe, so you guys can see it. So I had a model in which at first I thought Neutron would come in 2024, and I modeled out the launch revenue. Here, if you're a channel member and you're downloading it, you click on this, and then you can see that I'm counting with 35 Electron launches and 13 Neutron launches. So the 55 million, that's the Neutron launches, and the 8 million is the Electron launches. And you can see every year, oh, what did I do now? So you can see every year how much I am counting with both Electron and both Neutron. Here on the space systems, again, it's a very hard one to predict for Rocket Lab. I'm just counting with a 25% growth year over year. And I modeled out at first to 2030. I count with a 15% GAAP operating margin, which would give you an operating profit of 305 million. If you put a 40p multiple, which I think is very reasonable for a company that is growing 22% in the space industry, and you can see the growth is like 38, 30, 32, 34, 28, and yeah, just the last year, 22. So I think 40 is a very, very reasonable model. This gives you a market cap of 12 billion. And I am counting with shares, 3% yearly dilution, and just here, here I added the recent equity raise that they did, the capped call transaction, and I counted with max dilution to shareholders. I added those number of shares in, and I got a future 2030 share price of 19.5. So again, before you start hating me in the comments, this is Neutron being launched in 2024 and zero credit being given to space infrastructure. And this is the table that I was using when I was buying in the fours. So even if you discount the price by 11%, the fair value for you is $9.39, and at the time when I last updated this, the price was $8.6, which represented a 12.40% compound annual return onto 2030. So you can see that this is not so sexy. Then I had to update this because, you know, it was clear that 2024 we're not going to see a Neutron launch, and there the fair value for the stock became 11.66, and again the last time I updated this the price was at 7.2, and I made an even more pessimistic one where the first Neutron launch is only in 2026, and in this version the fair value was 9.26, and yeah, it doesn't matter what the current value is. So space infrastructure. So now that you knew that with the earlier model, the fair value was around $9 to $10, somewhere like that. Again, zero credit given to space infrastructure. Now, let's look at how this changes if we start adding in space infrastructure. Again, I wanted to find a pessimistic, very easy to calculate way on what it does based on the data that is available. And the only few data that I know about space infrastructure, one is that it's insanely profitable. So the numbers that I've seen on it before, I of course don't have them prepared because why? I didn't think about it, I'm sorry. But the point is the satellite constellation costs super much to get up to space, and once your assets are in space, it's like almost zero to keep the show running and delivering data. So it's a very, very, very high profit margin business, probably 30, 40, 50% net profit once your constellation is up and running. Then the data that we got from Rocket Lab is that they would be trying different constellations and different opportunities. Adam Spice said that it has to be a minimum $100 million a year revenue potential. He said hopefully much higher, maybe into the billions, and that they would be doing multiple shots at this. So I decided to count with 3 shots at this, and each opportunity I counted with 150 million a year, and because, you know, the profit margin is not clear, I was like, okay, what's a simple way to count with this? And I came to a price to sales multiple of 10. And the reason why I came to that is because then you know how much. So if you treat the space infrastructure as its own business and you know the revenue, then you just add this multiple to it, and then you get a rough value of the business. The 10 is, I think, very conservative because the space infrastructure is going to grow very nicely. And, you know, when a company is growing, then the price to sales ratio deserves to be a bit more stretched. And on top of it, the space infrastructure is supposed to be very, very profitable. So I feel very happy with the 10 multiple that I used. And again, the 150 million revenue potential on the constellation is probably very, very not optimistic, because when Adam Spice says that it's probably a lot more, I get the idea that they're looking at like billion-dollar opportunities, but it has to be at least 100 million so that they look at them. So again, very, very, very careful numbers. That's what I'm trying to emphasize here. So in the table, we leave everything the same on the top, but I added here again in 2028, which is again pessimistic. So I want to see like how I'm building in safety into this table. So I'm like, okay, even if Neutron flies in 2025 and then they're just serving customers 26, 27, and 28 is the first time when they're shooting up their constellation and are starting to get revenue. And I put 150 million revenue, the 10 price to sales. So that gives a $1.5 billion boost to the valuation of Rocket Lab. In year 2, they would start the second constellation. So the first constellation is I put it that it grows 25%. So the revenue from it becomes like 200 and something, whatever. And we have a new constellation with 150 million. Then the third year, we add another constellation with 150 million. And then the first 2 constellations are growing 25%. And you can see that on this third year, this constellation would add, so this is 2030 that we are talking about, it would add 5.7 billion to the market cap of Rocket Lab. So now we look at this table again, and now the market cap changes because it's the same as before, but we add this 5.7 million number to it, which makes the share price jump to 28 from the 20 that I was counting on. And now suddenly the fair value of Rocket Lab with these pessimistic numbers is $17. And the current price would give you, again, I'm sorry, this was the Friday close or whatever, a few days ago close. The share is, the stock is on a tear. Let me see, we closed over 11. Oh, why does my computer not want to move? So here we go. No. Okay, sorry, I opened it with my wrong Google account, so I cannot edit this. That's why. Okay. But anyway, so you can see that like probably it's about 18% compound annual return, even at the price of 11. And that's starting to be really sexy. Like, I'm very happy if I'm getting a compound annual return of around 20%, right? But I noticed a problem here. Because here the space infrastructure is just getting started. So I would like to have a model where I go a little bit more into the future. So, you know, like the space infrastructure actually hits its stride, you know. So I made this new table where I model everything out to 2035. And let me just move myself up here. So in this model, you can see that we go up to 8 years with the space infrastructure. The revenue goes up to $1.7 billion a year. Again, if we put a 10 price to sales, that adds $17 billion to the valuation of Rocket Lab. And basically by 2035, the valuation should be 41 billion. Which is a share price of $65. And if you discount that back to today, which is 11 years, with the market return, then you get a fair value of $25 today. So that's a fair value of $25 as Rocket Lab is today, which completely blew my mind. The current price is $9.5. So that means that you're getting a almost 20% return if you're buying for 9.5 for 11 straight freaking years. That is insanely good. That is insanely freaking good. Now, I did one more calculation here in which Neutron slides over to 26. And I'm counting with a bit more pessimistic ramp up of the actual Neutron launch. And the price, the fair value goes from 25 to 21 today. Again, still today it goes to $21. And again, if this version is the one that comes through, then you're still getting a 17% compound annual return for 11 straight freaking years. So what am I trying to say with this? I know that it's super risky to calculate with the space infrastructure because currently I acknowledge that they are plans. However, I believe that it's a crazy market opportunity that Wall Street is 100% assigning a zero value. And by the way, if you watch Rocket Lab Weekly, I spoke to all the content creators when we had them on, Scotto, Dave, Matt, and none of them assigned value to the space infrastructure, okay? And I believe it's a mistake. I'm not saying that you should assign ASTS valuation to it, but you should assign something to it. So if the guys who are assigning zero value to the space infrastructure think that the stock is at fair value here or is maybe a little bit undervalued, then you are, you know, stealing the stocks away if you believe that the space infrastructure is going to happen at these prices. So I honestly mean, because I know it's quite crazy. It kind of blew my mind how much space infrastructure changes the valuation of Rocket Lab. So I really encourage you to do your own due diligence. Again, you can feel free to use this as your guide and make your own assumptions and see where it takes you. And let me know in the comments what you think and also how you like this video. And that is it for me. All I ask is if you got value out of this video, you subscribe. And if you want to go even further, you can become a channel member. And I'll see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.